Tom wouldn't know that it was me until I got here, right? Scott, you and I are the only ones laughing at this. This is stupid, like stupid, right? We just wanted to see his face, right? So, oh yeah, we got Michael, sorry, yes, yes. Anyway, like I said, Randy alcoholic, and Sam, I'm a rager too, raging alcoholic, I like that. And I know that for several reasons. And it made me think of a story actually when I think I probably had maybe 10, 15 years of sobriety, and there was a guy in the program who was basically dying of AIDS, right? So we went to see him, and he was like on the high protein diet, and the nurse comes out with the new feel-good bottle for the IV, right? And me and this one girl that, like in our home group, just kind of looked at each other and smiled. So I want to tell you, if you're jealous of the dude that is dying of AIDS, right, because he's getting the feel-good juice, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. That is raging, right? So anyway, I'll tell you a little bit about what happened, or what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Those are three completely different things. And I think we all kind of start out sort of in the same place. And that is a very common theme with alcoholics, that we are just uncomfortable in our own skin, right? And something is different about us. We don't fit in. We feel less than, right? So that was all my experience. My parents divorced when I was 8 years old. I have one sister who is 5 years older than me. And we have old home movies, actually, of our family trips, right? To the Sequoias and to Big Bear. And I remember being in my 20s looking at these things for the first time thinking, whose family is this, right? Because I remember none of that, right? My first memory is when my father cheated on my mother, her throwing a fork, I was probably 2 years old, a fork or a knife across the kitchen to try to hit him. I didn't know why they were fighting at that time, but I just felt like this is not the Brady Bunch that I see on TV, right? Like that's what I wanted. So Gen X, all the way, 100%, raised by TV, right? Which makes you kind of an idealist. And I am an idealist, and I am a daydreamer, big time daydreamer. And, you know, I would listen to, music's very important to me. My friends know that. I would sit and listen to music for hours on end, rocking in like a rocking chair, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, right? After school, mind-numbing exercise, right? That's basically what I wanted. So even before I picked up my first drink, I was already checking out in my own way. And I did not have the Brady Bunch family, right? Or any other family that was on 70s TV. Not abusive. I don't want to make it seem like it was, you know, harder than it was. They didn't beat us. They didn't, you know, do anything like that. But, you know, come to realize later through doing the steps and just flat out growing up, I think a lot has to do with that. Just getting older and mellowing out a little bit, that I'm not even going to say they did the best they could, right? People always say that. My parents did the best they could. I don't know, right? I don't know. But the point is they did what they did, right? And whether I deserved it or not, or whatever, didn't get what I needed, you know, come to find out, one of my shortcomings is that I think I deserve a lot more than I do, right? I think I deserve a, mom I always compared myself to my friends whose mothers were home in the afternoon making cookies, right? My mom was a single mom teacher. I was a total latchkey kid, right? Came home to an empty house every day. And I wasn't getting what I deserved. And I felt on my own, right? And I felt from a very early age that if anybody's going to take care of me, it's going to be me. Like, I can't count on these people, right? I can't count on these people. Yes, they're not abusing me, but I don't want anything to do with them. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go in my sister's room with the rocking chair and listen to Elton John for 3 hours. That's what I'm going to do, right? And when my parents got divorced, I had a ton of fear. So I didn't have much of a male role model. So my sister's older, my mother now hates men, and I'm like the boy in the family who's not only younger, but like the wrong sex, right? Helen Reddy comes out with I Am Woman. I'm like, really? Right? Like, now you're going to put that out? So I hear it. I hear it. I'm very observant, very observant. So I start hearing the noise. Men suck, right? And then my dad sort of proves it, right? So he's supposed to come get me every other weekend, and I'm waiting by the door, and he's not showing up, right? And I'm crushed, right? Greg, he worked for the city of LA too, the redevelopment agency. I don't know where you are, but anyway, so anyway, it's hard to tell a story when you're going back. I don't want to skip anything. So men suck, therefore I suck, right? I suck. And I am completely shut away at home, but acting up at school. Typical, right? I mean, it's common, I should say. Maybe not typical. Super common, right? So I'm getting, A for grade, unsatisfactory for AUs, like all the way down the board, right? You got to do something about Randy. And my mother is a teacher in the school district for the school I go to, right? And so she's starting to get shit. This is like elementary school. I haven't even started going to jail yet. So Randy's a problem, right? But I didn't want to hear it. I mean, this is a common theme of my pre-sobriety years, is if you're going to tell me something negative about me that I'm doing, shut the hell up. Like, I just don't want to hear that, right? Because I don't care what you think. But when actuality, I really do care what you think. And I don't trust your judgment anyway, right? I don't trust your judgment anyway. So I'm starting to act up, right? And I'm feeling less than, and I have all of these bad, negative feelings, still comparing myself to the Brady Bunch, and every other TV show. Even their problems are cool, right? So you got hit in the face with a football and your nose is all big. So yeah, but and I am just so uncomfortable with absolutely no reason to be. I got it pretty good, right? This is alcoholism, I think, at its finest. I have it pretty good, right? I mean, we live in an upper middle class community. I go to a good school. I don't really want for anything, but I'm looking at everything that is not right with my life, right? That's all I can do. I don't know where that comes from. I really don't know where that comes from, but it's all I know how to do. I do not know what gratitude is. I do not know what, feeling good about yourself is. And I think that's a pretty, when I hear people share from the podium, I think that's a pretty common theme for alcoholics, right? Because we wouldn't be here, right? We wouldn't be here if that was the case. So my first drink is, well, actually, I probably smoked weed before I drank. So my dad drank, but I didn't really notice that much. He was like closet alcoholic, functional maybe, and I'm not even sure he was an alcoholic. I don't make that distinction typically with people, because, unless you're, unless it's completely obvious. But he was not that person, right? Mother's side of the family, zero. Like, I am the black sheep of black sheeps, and I'll get to that later. Nothing. They don't smoke, they don't drink, there's never alcohol in the house. So I got nobody to steal from. I was like jealous in AA when I hear these stories. Oh yeah, I raided my parents' liquor cabinet, and I'm like, I want a liquor cabinet, like, to raid. So, but my first drink, I do remember. Freshman year of high school, I'm probably 14, and somehow we got a bottle of 151, and I had to prove to the rest of the crowd that I could turn that bottle upside down, and I did, right? And I'm gonna tell you, all of those things that I just talked about, the inadequacy, the family I didn't want, the this, the that, gone. So I don't know about the tingly feeling and the warm sensation and all that stuff. All I know is all that shit is out, right? And I'm done, and I feel way better because it's gone. It's gone, right? And they're telling everybody at school, they called me Fish. I thought that was so cool, right? Like, they're telling everybody, oh yeah, Randy drank that 151 like it was water, right? And I'm like, that's right, right? So here we go, right? This is the actually late 70s, very early 80s. Everybody's wasted all the time, right? Old people, you with me? Yes. Thank you. Here we go with the parties, right? I remember playing quarters for the first time, not knowing what it was. I'm like a kid and playing with seniors, and then they make the quarter, and then you have to drink, right? And I'm thinking, like, so is that a punishment? Like, I don't get it, right? Like, what's the object of this game now? So I'm just praying that everybody makes it so I get more, right? And I didn't, so some people are just kind of like off to the races, right? Like daily use. It was just too difficult for a 14-year-old kid in Orange County to get what I needed like every day. I couldn't do that necessarily. So I tried to manage, through these periods without getting loaded. And I did until basically I was like a senior in high school, and it became every day, maybe junior. And I'm going down pretty quick, right? Especially after high school. So this whole time, I should say, I have kind of an image to keep up. Like, I'm not going down so you can see I'm going down, right? So I'm not going to not graduate. And my thing was, I carried that listening to the music in the bedroom thing, leave me alone, I carried that into like early adulthood, right? Which is one thing for me was, I don't want to draw attention to myself because I don't want you to say anything to me, right? And if I'm flunking out of high school, you're going to say something. And I don't want that, right? So stay out of my business. I did not like adults, right? They always say don't trust anyone over 30, right? Like, I was that guy, right? Like, I don't want anything to do with any authority. And I think that has to do a lot with not having a dad who exerted any authority over me. So I didn't want that. So I, quote unquote, maintained, right? And really, and not doing as good a job at it as I thought I was, right? I thought I had everything together. So if I can work and I can go to college, so I go straight to college, and I'm getting loaded every freaking day. Like, whatever you have around, I'm gonna do it, right? So I am, loaded all the time, maintaining somehow, but going down without really realizing I'm going down, because you're young, right? Like, I was invincible. By the way, my sobriety date is October. April 4th, 1988. I got sober when I was 23 years old. And I'll get to that in a minute. So I couldn't last very long the way I was going. Certainly not mentally, but physically as well. But with that said, kind of invincible, right? Like, I didn't really have, I don't know, there's a lot of people that have a lot of physical problems in their 20s. That wasn't my experience. Like, I didn't see any really big time physical problems, except for rapid and maintained weight loss. But, so anyway, I'm going down quick. Right? I'm working at restaurants, trying to make a living here and there. Each restaurant I'm working at is worse than the one before, right? Until the last job I have is, and all the owners of these restaurants and managers are hitting me up for being stoned all the time, loaded, right? I'm ignoring it, putting it out of my head. My last restaurant job was like a Benihana type place. I'm the only white boy in there, right? And I'm wearing the Japanese uniform, right? The owner's in my ear, right? The Japanese owner. You stoned all the time, and I'm like, take your little onion volcano and shove it up your ass, man. Like, I'm thinking, if I'm not dropping food on people, if I'm showing up for work, see, this is my thing. I am entitled. If I maintain, in my mind, though, that's the problem. Right? That's the problem. If I think I'm maintaining in my mind, then you're way off base by giving me shit. Right? So here comes the intervention. So anyone that's had one, it's not the best day of your life, probably, right? So I don't know why it was a big shock, right? But I'm like, what's everybody doing here? I don't know what the shock was. Like, I'm definitely going down, right? And I'm coming home 2, 3 in the morning. I'm living with my poor mother. My poor mother. Right? Like, I didn't give two shits about what I was putting her through. You know, I remember coming home one night, I pull in the garage, and two fluorescent lights, the old 80s fluorescent lights, those things explode, bro, right? Like, come crashing down on top of the hood, right? And then I do the alcoholic thing, which is sit still, right? And it's all going to go away. Just sit still. Okay, it's been 10 minutes. I can go in the house now, right? As if my problems were going to go away by just sitting there for a second. All right, I'm good. So intervention. But I'm not fighting it, but I'm super reluctant, obviously, right? Because I really envy people who come into AA and this is like the last house on the block, I really need help. I came in here thinking I really didn't need this, which is a whole different ball game, right? It's a whole different ball game. So I come in, and that was a Monday, April 4th, 1988. So my last drink was the day before, which was, remember, do they still have those 8 packs of Lowenbrau? Remember those little ones? They still have those? Oh, okay. So my last drink was like 3 or 4 of those things. I had a resentment against that for like 10 years, right? Like, really? That's how I went out. So I go to a meeting that night, right? And I get into the back of I think it was like a 75 LTD with this, where you sit on the speakers in the back. Marijuana Mike was the dude that picked people up and drove them to meetings, right? And this is like a scene out of a movie, like da-na-na, 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 like Cashmere. I'm sitting on Cashmere in the back seat, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this without weed, dude. Like, you know, how do people do this? So I go to a meeting that night, but I don't think I belong there. So I am thinking about everything else. Here's the other thing we share, I think. Alcohol and drugs are never the problem, are they? It's everything else, right? It's everything else, even if it's partly me. But it's certainly not my alcohol and drug use, right? So I'm just like, this isn't, I don't need to be here, right? But this was like the only way I could shut up I don't think my dad was at the intervention. I don't think he really cared that much. Or, I mean, he obviously cares about me. I don't think that he thought my mom was crazy, right? And I played that one up big, like, yeah, she's crazy, yeah. Right? She had me like drug tested on Christmas Eve one year when I was like 17, and I came back clean, and I'm like, thank you, right? You're nuts, right? You're nuts. So, you know, I do stuff like, I remember 23, right? You can bounce back from a lot. It's all old men in there. Like, well, they're younger than me now, but they're like old men, right? Fat, out of shape. So we are, yeah, please don't judge me. We had a physical therapist or some lady that ran exercises, right? So she's taken a jog around the compound of this rehab that I went to, which is like right in the center of town, by the way. So I'm like, hope nobody drives by and sees me. But I had to outrun her, right? All the fat old men, they can't keep up. And I'm outrunning her, and she's like, oh, man, you're in pretty good shape. And that statement goes to my head and says, see, right? You got the wrong guy, right? You got the wrong guy. So, what changed? 16-day program, right? Had my high school reunion a couple years ago, and I went to Yorba Linda early and drove around town, right? I went to the houses that I lived in, and I drove by my high school, and I drove by the rehab that I went through. And there's like, it's not going to mean anything to you, but it was the door, right? Which was the way out, right? It's the door that we always went through to go somewhere, right? So I took a picture and I texted my buddy and I'm like, hey, I drove by the other day. He's like, oh my God, the door, right? And so 16 days is not a long time, right? At 23 years old, it seemed like forever, right? Like I went through the door, right, to get out, and I'm like, I'm feeling like it's a different world. Like, oh my God, like time travel almost. And what did I do? So at the end, I'm trying to fit in everything, and I want to save a lot of time for sobriety because that's been by far the majority of my life. I became a man in this program, right? I was not a man when I came in. And men don't suck, right? They don't have to suck any more than any other human. So, but I didn't have any friends. So I got sober at a time, I'm sure you guys have gone through this, where it's the first few years of where everybody in high school has kind of gone their own way, right? So you don't see people that much anymore. Things are different, right, than they were. And I didn't make it very well through that period, right? Like I was hanging out at dive bars with like 45-year-old Filipino coke dealers, and like, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, right? I don't know what I'm doing. I have no friends anymore. Somehow that happened, right? And then when I came to AA, I think this is what God's grace means to me. God's grace means to me that if you really want this thing and you have the desire, you will get what you need despite yourself. That's what God's grace is to me. And I got what I needed, which was a fellowship at first, right? My first meetings, the first couple of weeks sucked, right? Like for all of us. Nobody comes in here, I heard it the other day, on a winning streak, right? I'm thinking, I don't trust anybody that's smiling, right? Like none, especially here. I remember thinking, what do you people have to smile about, right? And I just kept coming back, which is all you have to do in the beginning, is just put your ass in that seat. Then I started meeting some young people. Thank God I came in at a time when young people were starting to really flourish in AA and populate the program, right? There were people younger than me. There's like a group of 15-year-old, they were 15 at the time, I was 23. They're like 8 years younger than me with 6 months more sobriety than I have, right? And it was cool. It was cool. So I just kept coming back, and then, I don't have much time left, but I want to tell you what it's like today, which I feel like I finally stopped fighting everyone and everything. I don't know how that happened, right? Because I went through a long time, right, in sobriety, 40s, 50s, I'm 60 years old now, 40s, 50s, whatever, still fighting what I feel. I don't cause problems necessarily. I mean, I'm human, whatever. But I don't like go after a fight or anything like that. But man, but I'm big on like justice, right? Like, you harm my friends and family, I'm gonna come after you, right? Or you try to, and this is a shortcoming, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, right? This is a shortcoming of mine, which is I don't like feeling like a sucker. If you're trying to take advantage of me, I'm going all out against you, right? Because it's not right. What you're doing is not right. So it's exhausting, you guys. It's exhausting. Example, and I'm only saying this example as a picture of what I hope you get someday. I couldn't have been in my 30s listening to a guy like me and gotten what I'm going to say, but hopefully when you're my age and you possibly mellow out a little bit, you'll remember what I said, right? I have a dog. My dog pees on my patio like you would not believe, right? I haven't taken care of the patio. I let him do it because I'm not home all the time, right? So it's like, fine, rather have him pee out there than in the house, right? So go, right? Plaster's peeling up. I mean, this thing is trash. Like, I never went to my patio. Finally, I decide I want a patio. I want to be able to put furniture out there. I want to like sit out there. I want to enjoy it, right? So my apartment complex is like, sure, we'll take care of it, right? So they took care of it and then sent me a bill for $1,600, right? I'm telling you, even like 3 years ago, I would have been all over that, right? It's not right that you tell me after the fact. We didn't discuss anything about money. You can't do this. I would have done this, 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 and this if you told me that, right? I'm in the elevator. I'm coming down from my apartment to the parking lot. I have a very close friend from Bakersfield and my sister. I'm telling them the story. They both look at me and say, pay the fucking money. Your dog destroyed the patio. Pay the money. And right then, it was like a weight had come off my shoulder. I know this is a small thing, but this is a metaphor, really, for my life, actually. The weight came off. The weight came off. And my son was even like, why'd you do that? And this blah, 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 right? And I'm like, you know why? Because since I paid that money, I've thought about that $1,600 and the quote-unquote injustice that was done to my life maybe 2 times in 3 weeks for about 10 seconds each time. Whereas, if I started with the email, that I actually did start, by the way, and kept the fight going, you guys, we've all done this, right? I just don't have it in me anymore, right? And I am way more peaceful, way more peaceful. And I'll end with this. So, I've never been the best prayer and meditator. I haven't been super consistent at it. I can do it. But I have been more spiritual and I feel closer to God in the last couple of years than I have ever been in my entire life. And I'll tell you what, when God tells you to do something and you get that slap in the face, call this guy, talk to this person, do whatever, and you feel, I call it a slap in the face, but it's kind of a good slap in the face. When you feel that, I feel it. No drug had ever felt that good. Nothing had ever felt that good in my life. Nothing. And I will not, well, I shouldn't say I will never, but I don't want to give that up. Am I immune from ever getting loaded again? Absolutely not, right? I still got that thing called alcoholism, right? I saw that one of those videos on Trank, one of those documentaries, those guys in Kensington, Philadelphia, the zombie dudes, right? I saw that. And part of me, this tiny little part, still thinks, oh my God, that guy is so out of it, it must be awesome. Right? You can relate, Scott, I know. Right? Like, I want that. I want to not care about anything. The problem is that all the problems that you want to go away don't, right? We know that. And that is, something that you have to realize after you get sober. So anyway, not the easiest thing to do to speak to my friends, but I guess that's my story. So thank you.
Let's thank Randy again.